Turn it up. It's The Record Machine with your host, Jimmy Hall.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome rock recording artist Lee Daniel. Lee, how you doing?
Good. How you doing, Jimmy?
Pretty good. Where are you calling from today?
Miami Beach, Florida.
Oh, nice. Lucky you. What's the weather like?
88 degrees and mostly sunny.
Nice. I think it's about like 70 here. I'm in North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and it's cloudy out today.
Oh, I gotcha. Well, it's not too bad up that way. You won't get too bad of winter, right? Or I guess it gets kind of colder.
I think it goes down to about like 35, 40 maybe, the coldest, you know?
That's pretty cold, man. You get that down here maybe once or twice a year, and everybody's in like fur boots and jackets and stuff. It's pretty ridiculous.
Well, I'm originally from Jersey, so you can imagine how cold the winters were when I lived there. That's the reason why we left.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I was up there for the blizzard last winter. I guess it was January. I was there for a couple of days, and it was brutal, man.
Mm-hmm. So did you grow up in Florida?
I did. I'm originally from Venezuela, and we moved up here when I was 10. So I'm 42 now. So yeah, I've been in Miami since I was 10. That was like the late summer of 1990.
Wow.
So yeah, I grew up here on Miami Beach, went to school in North Miami Beach Senior High. That being said, I've traveled extensively, even from before that time. So I've been around quite a bit. But yeah, I did grow up here.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Tell me about your musical background. When did you first get involved in music?
Well, music has always been something that's been very present in my life from a very young age. Even before I became active in playing music, I was always very aware of music around me from my very early childhood, and current things for back then. Call it Queen, The Police, stuff like that from the early to mid '80s. And then once grunge blew up and I was, in my very early teens, I wanted to actually play myself, Mm-hmm. So I was fortunate enough to have parents that were kind enough to gift me a cool Fender Squire.
Nice.
For my birthday, and that was my 14th birthday. So I got that and a little amp and just went to town. And the biggest thing I did was just trying to imitate whatever was on the radio. I just spend hours just, playing along or trying to play along until finally I got, a little bit of headway and started to get better.
Very cool.
And so, yeah, that was the early beginnings. But from then, just started getting into local bands, writing my own music through my late teens and early 20s, all the way till now,
Wow. Who were some of your influences?
My biggest influence is probably Malcolm Young from AC/DC.
Nice.
Not the most shining star, I guess, as far as like rock stars goes or whatnot, but I just love the simplicity of his rhythmic approach, and I think he's a hugely underrated artist. I think that's probably my biggest influence. But then again, it's tinged by everything from Jerry Cantrell, Kurt Cobain, Tony Iommi in a huge way. I love Motorhead.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Dead Boys. It really goes all over. And even, music from before that era, call it the Beatles, the Rolling Stones of the 60s and 70s, the Who, just all over the place, Jimmy.
Which Dead Boys album is your favorite?
That's a hard tell. I like them all extensively.
Uh-huh.
That's a hard question for sure.
A lot of people, a lot of people say the one that Genya produced is the best one. I tend to believe that.
Well, I think that had the most popular appeal, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Was that something that influenced you in Jersey coming up?
Not necessarily. I just remember them, and I remember that she produced the album. She was actually on my show a few weeks ago. I don't know if you know.
Was she really?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Oh, it was great. We talked for like an hour and a half.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. She does a radio show now on Sirius XM Channel 21. It's Little Steven's Underground Garage.
Sure.
And she has all indie bands on there, men and women.
Really?
Oh yeah. You should submit your music to her. I'll give you the email. I'll text it to you.
Okay, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, she usually likes 2 MP3s and a bio to go along with it, and then if she decides to play it on the show, that'd be great, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be a huge thing. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
No problem. Now, you just recently released a brand new EP titled Lee Daniel 2. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Lee Daniel 2 is a culmination of really a lot of COVID era time spent just writing music and doing not much else besides playing guitar and trying to come up with new things. Just as everybody else, I didn't really have a whole lot to do during the pandemic or the height of the pandemic.
Right.
So I had released Underwater Wireman's Club back in 2018, which was it's a very very rough cut. It's a very rough album, but there's some good tracks on it. But the misfortune of of the COVID pandemic was kind of advantageous to me in the sense that I had time to kind of sit back and write some new music and start to interact with a lot of people via Instagram and Facebook and stuff, just because we had the time to do it. So I started playing, some live Instagram live shows, and people were reacting to it. And, I had a lot of ideas for songs that I started to put together. So I put my money where my mouth was and announced that I was gonna write and record a new EP of the new material that I was creating at the time. And I did it, I went through with it. I was recording up in Tampa, actually Clearwater, at a place called All Access Studios, which is a great facility. And it took quite a while. The recording process took close to a year, just because it would take time, obviously, between driving up there and booking sessions. And sometimes the things weren't great that I was hearing back, so it would re-record. But at the end of it came out better than I thought it ever could have. I mean, there's things that I'd like to change and improve on the next release for sure. But it really became like this culmination of almost like an exorcism of my 30s,
Wow.
to put it in my own terms. But that's kind of what came out, and it was subconscious. But every song's a little different than the next, and they all touch on subjects quite vaguely. Really, nothing's directly blatant about my experience as a human being or whatnot, but they do touch on very, very relevant things. And I think they're things that are relevant with other people. And I'm seeing that from the reaction that I'm getting from listeners all over the world, really. So yeah, if I had to put it in one way, I know I'm rambling a bit, so excuse me for that.
No, it's totally fine.
But yeah, an exorcism of my 30s, of all the trials and tribulations that I had from, the last 10 or 12 years, and kind of putting it to bed and kind of looking with a positive and optimistic eye towards the future.
Now, is the album all you, or are there other players on there?
There's other players. I've been fortunate enough to meet a lot of very, very talented musicians throughout. I write everything, and I'd say 95% of the guitars are me. But the gentleman that I had producing, which is a good friend of mine from 20 years back, who's been a very solid part of the music scene all over Florida, Mr. Jason Taylor. He played bass for the most part. I had a couple other guys come in and do a couple lines on bass as well. He also played quite a bit of drums, as well as a gentleman named Jay up in St. Pete, who's a fantastic drummer. And a couple others here and there on vocals. There's some guest stars on vocals that you hear in the gang choruses and whatnot. So yeah, I was I had a couple guys come in and help out for sure. I wish I was talented enough to do everything, but I'm far from it.
Well, I think the EP came out great, so.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. This podcast is going to feature 2 tracks from this EP, Crossing Collins and Leroy Kincaid. What's the story behind those 2 songs?
Okay, that's interesting. So, Crossing Collins. Have you been to Miami? Are you familiar with Miami at all?
Not really. I have a friend that lives there, but I've never been there.
Okay. The main drag through Miami Beach is Collins Avenue. So back in my late 20s, early 30s, even before, I lived down in a place called South Beach, which is the southern end of Miami Beach. And we were all involved in heavy partying and hanging out, doing whatever it is we did. So the phrase would be, if you stayed out all night and saw the sun come up, you'd cross Collins Avenue to the beach just to watch the sun come up over the ocean before you went home and went to sleep, or tried to go to sleep.
That makes sense.
So yeah, that's the catchphrase there, Crossing Collins. So if you're crossing Collins, you've been out all night.
Nice.
So that just kind of touches on that time of my life, on the craziness, on people that are no longer around, that were part of that scene then. Some people very close to me, calling from the other side, which is one of the lyrics. So that's pretty much where that comes from. Leroy Kincaid is kind of it's a bit of an ode to my alter ego to some extent.
Okay.
The title Leroy Kincaid is from a Bon Scott era AC/DC song. It's a B-side called Cold Hearted Man, which also comes up on the Iron Man 2 soundtrack, Resurrected from the Dead. I mean, nobody'd heard that song in 30 years probably. The main character in that song is a cowboy by the name of Leroy Kincaid, who's cold to the world, to his own family. He has no friends. He's just a cold-hearted man. There's aspects of my personality when I've been indulgent in things that kind of alter my personality a bit, which run parallel to those of that character. So it's a lot about, you know, your internal struggle, your outward appearance when sometimes you're not what you seem to be. And I think it's something we can all touch on. I think we've all had our you know, our issues or whatnot, as far as, you know, maybe indulging a little too much or whatnot. But that's really where it comes from.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. How do you approach songwriting? What's your creative process like?
Well, Jimmy, it really comes mostly from fiddling on the guitar. I play a lot of guitar. I love guitar. It's probably my favorite thing to do. So I'll come up with you know, with a riff and just kind of work it from there. If I find something that's really, really catchy to me, I try to build around it, try to construct, whether it's the chorus or verse or bridge or whatnot, around just a really catchy hook idea, and try to visualize it as a completed product. I'm really, really big on like gang chorus vocals. Yeah, I think that's a big thing. So I try to picture it with that in mind, like you know, like I try to make my titles kind of like you'd see like on a newspaper headline or something like that. Yeah, the lyrics usually come after. I write a lot of ideas that I come up with lyrically. I write them down and then kind of see what fits, you know, once the music is close to completion or tangible at least.
Very cool. When's the best time of day to write a song?
I like the evenings usually, but anytime really, you know, like I'm very fortunate in the fact that when I pick up a guitar, for the most part, I can kind of tune everything else out, and that's a great thing to be able to do in today's, you know, today's day and age, where just like the world is like at you know, like you're at the world's disposal at any time. So it's nice to be able to find your own time. But yeah, no, I prefer the evenings, you know, nice and easy, and just kind of get into my own world, and just play away. You know?
Yeah, I interviewed this guy, Anthony Caruso, and he told me that a lot of his ideas for songs come to him in his sleep.
Wow.
Yeah, and he wakes up and then he writes it down. That's
pretty impressive. I mean, it's cool, like you're saying, like how many different people have different approaches to things, you know?
Yeah.
I wish I had a less linear approach, you know, that's amazing. I wish I could remember, you know, any of the stuff that I dream about. It's very vague. I'm sure there's some great ideas in there. Very cool that he can harness that.
Yeah, because I mean, your dreams are like, you know, most of the time are fantasy. They're not, you know, anything even close to reality. So can you imagine what the lyrics would sound like if you remembered them?
Yeah, it's an incredible process. Just being able to pick out the abstract element of your dreams. I mean, that's an incredible thing. I wish I could do that.
Yeah. If you could do a collaboration with anybody, who would it be and why?
Well, that's an interesting question. A collaboration with anybody. Wow, that's something I've never even really thought of in depth, but it's a great question. Obviously AC/DC, but then it would just sound like AC/DC plus Lee, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's an easy out of an answer. You know who? Even though Michael Hutchence is gone, I think In Excess would be a fantastic collaboration. I think I'd love to collaborate with In Excess.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
Yeah, I think they're an amazing band. I don't know, you don't want to pigeonhole yourself, you know, but it seems like In Excess would be a band that most people probably wouldn't expect me to like as much as I do. But I just think their lyrical content's fantastic and their execution's great. I think that would be very, very cool.
Yeah, it was sad when Michael passed away. They were a great band.
They were great, and they were great for a long time. And it's unfortunate how these guys pass sometimes, you know, but at the same time, we can't really climb into their psyche or what they're feeling or whatnot. And we're just fortunate to have them when we have them, you know? Right.
Like you said earlier, we all, you know, have had our issues over the years. Some of us are able to deal with it better. Still do. You know? It you know, it is what it is. I mean, I know I've had my issues over the years as well, too. You know, I mean, it's not just musicians, it's everybody.
Yeah, well, I mean, life is difficult, and it's beautiful. I think it's equal parts of both. But it takes a lot to cope, and it's up to us to find what works best. And sometimes when we're experimenting with whatever formula it takes to make us feel better, we kind of go over the edge a little bit, and bad things happen and poor choices are made, and the world keeps moving regardless,
Mm-hmm. Now, besides your music, do you have any other projects that you're working on?
As far as the moment, no, I don't. Between my musical aspirations and just inclinations and just, being a father and working and all that manner of thing, at the moment, I don't have any projects aside from what I'm doing musically. But that being said, I plan to start writing a book before too long. I'm going to delve into the world of being an author. Mm-hmm. Which has been something that's interested me forever, but I finally feel like I have enough experience and enough behind me in life to actually maybe present something hopefully interesting to the public.
Any ideas what it's going to be about? Do you have stuff already written, or?
I have several things or several avenues I want to explore. One is the autobiographical route. To a certain extent, maybe not completely, but I've been very lucky in my life. I've been able to travel quite a bit, meet a lot of very interesting people, and do some pretty cool things without how do you say it? Without patting your own back or singing your own laurels or whatnot. But I think a lot of the things that I've done have been interesting enough to engage a reader. So I want to definitely do some things towards that. And then as well as that, I'd like to maybe talk about my observations on humanity and the human experience, the human process. I'm not sure how that delivery is going to come out just yet. It's going to take some trial and error, but I think I have enough to say just through observation to hopefully engage, readers.
Very cool. Now, if your life was turned into a movie, what would it be called and who would play you?
I think something like maybe the title would be like Drifter.
Okay.
And as far as somebody playing your role, I mean, the first thing you think is like Brad Pitt or somebody like that. Somebody, insanely handsome or something like that. But I don't know. I think Woody Harrelson would be pretty cool.
You think he looks like you, though?
I don't think he looks like me at all. I don't think anybody really does. I have a very unique ugly to me. It's very hard to replicate.
Stop that. I mean, no one's ever told you look like anybody?
I mean, in passing, but it's usually from people that are really like drunk. So like one time this giant dude in Miami Beach, like he kept calling me Owen Wilson all night. So that was interesting. Cause I look nothing like Owen Wilson. So,
wow.
Like zero, I'm like, okay. I've been told I look like Joe Elliott from Def Leppard. Again, not really. I mean, very, very basically maybe.
Uh-huh.
I think that's about it. I've been told I look like an Argentine soccer player by the name of Claudio Caniggia, but that's when I was younger and had longer hair. So yeah, I mean, nobody's ever been like, oh wow, you look exactly like this one guy or whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if we have artistic liberty, I think Woody Harrelson would be awesome.
Cool. Do you have any shows coming up that you want to talk about?
I don't have anything booked as of yet. I'm restructuring a little bit what our live performance is going to be, and I'm going to start booking extensively for the beginning of next year throughout Florida. I'm already talking about some dates possibly in the Tampa, Orlando, and St. Augustine, Jacksonville area, as well as putting together a few dates in Bogota, Colombia, Toronto, Canada, and up in New York City. And so most of these performances, I'm believing at this point, are going to be unplugged solo performances. And as soon as I have some dates set up, they'll be plastered all over all my socials and stuff. But yeah, there are performances coming up, just nothing booked as of yet, but it's coming.
Cool. Now, do you have a website you'd like to promote?
A website per se, no, but I do have my Bandcamp, SoundCloud, Instagram. We're all over all the social media streams that everybody is now. Even TikTok. I don't know what I'm doing on TikTok, but I try.
Okay.
I feel a bit like I don't know, like outdated, trying to do the TikTok thing. But the more the merrier, they say. So yeah, we're all over the place. I like to push the SoundCloud and the Bandcamp for sure. And just Lee Daniel music all over everything.
So Lee Daniel Music, that's on your Facebook. That's probably where they'd be able to get information if you got shows coming up, correct?
Yeah, that, or on Spotify. Like, everything's listed there when it comes up. But just anywhere really. Any of my streaming sites or any of my social media sites will have all the concert dates and whatnot.
And to buy your 2 releases, they can get that on Bandcamp, right?
Absolutely right. Yeah. Bandcamp has everything. It's all there. And, hopefully people will enjoy it.
Awesome. Now, is there anything you'd like to mention that we didn't talk about today?
Off the top of my head, really what I would like to do, and you're giving me first of all, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to talk with me. I think the service you provide for artists is unbelievable. I think your approach is wonderful, and it's really been a pleasure speaking with you.
Oh, likewise.
Yeah, I really, really mean that from the bottom of my heart. I wanted to take a moment mostly just to thank anybody and everybody that's taken the time to listen and to interact with what it is that I'm doing and have been doing. I mean, there's been some really, really warm responses from people all over the world, really. And it's really a touching thing, because no matter who you are as an artist, you doubt yourself quite a bit. I think that's part of the process. And, and anybody that says that they don't, they're lying,
Of course.
So any bit of that positive reinforcement makes you keep wanting to do it. And really, like, everything behind this is just being able to share with others, that's all this is. That's all it is. So being able to have a platform to do so and feeling the reception from people is just mind-blowing, and it makes you want to do more. And I just can't appreciate you guys enough. Thank you so much, everybody, for being part of this.
Well, Lee, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing your stories and your great music. And I want to wish you the best of luck with the EP and the shows coming up in the coming year.
Well, thank you so much, Jimmy. I really appreciate that. Again, I appreciate your time, shared with me. And anything I can do to promote you, always count on me. I'm always here. And anything that I have coming up, I'll definitely inform you of. And thank you again for everything.
Awesome. Well, you have my number. I have yours. Let's stay in touch, all right?
Fantastic, Jimmy. Thank you so much.
All right. You take care, buddy.
All right. Have a great day.
All right. Bye-bye.
My free will,